In this video, I'm going to take you through doing a DIY, placing this table. It's cold outside, and I finally just got enough steel to make my own table. I say DIY because everything I have here, you guys can have your hands on. Tools, material, everything, nothing out of the ordinary. Just finally got enough scrap metal, found a sheet of metal off of Facebook. My framing and stuff, it's just stuff I've accumulated over time, so I really don't have a lot of money into this project, which is why I'm doing it now. And I can't do anything flat on that table. It's got a bunch of 2x12s that are warped. So I'm gonna take you through me building this table, and here's a little sketch I made. So we're gonna frame it here, 22 wide and 82 long, because I'm going to put the legs in between here, 2x2 legs, and then I got 2x3 tubing for the rest of this. I'm going to have 5-inch overhang. That's enough to get a clamp in there all the way around. So, and on the legs, we're going to make it adjustable. So I got some threaded rod here. I'm going to weld the nut to the end of the leg, and then we'll weld a plate to the end of this, like so. And then we're going to bolt this right onto the caster. That way, whenever I get it here, or if I want to move it anywhere around the garage, I got some cracks in the floor, it's uneven, I'll go ahead and move it a little bit, adjust it up or down. So I'm just going to leave about 1/2 inch of adjustment. I think that'll be plenty. So let's get started. All right, first step I'm going to do is go ahead and cut these plates out. I actually had one that fits this perfectly. I'm going to trace these out, cut 3 more of these. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I have 1.25 inches I'm going to leave out. I'm going to give myself about 1 inch of play, maybe 3/4. By the time I weld it, probably going to take about 1/4 inch or more here. And then we'll go ahead and cut the legs after that and weld this stuff up. Now that we finally got the nuts off, I'm going to cut this to 2.5 inches. This nut's about 1.25 inches. And like I said earlier, I want to leave about 1.25 inches, about 1/4 inch of weld. So that leaves me about 1 inch of thread height. That way I need to go up or down. If you know you have a flat floor, none of this is really needed, but I know I do not, so that's why I want to go ahead and do it. So instead of welding these on here first, I'm going to go ahead and drill holes. I'm just going to do 2 bolt holes here, across from each other. It's not going to go anywhere. So we're going to go ahead and mark these on all these plates, drill the 2 holes per one, and then we'll go ahead and weld these on. I got these welded. I did just weld 1 on each side. I don't want to weld all the way around yet because I'm afraid this will warp and then it'll start to crown. So I'm going to I did 1/2 and 1/2. I'll do 1/2 later. So in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and cut the legs. I got the table do about 40 inches tall. This one's right at that, and I like that height. And this one's right there too with it. So cut the legs to 32 inches. And these are about 8 inches high with this, 8.5, so it'll be right around that 40 range. So let's start cutting those, and then we'll weld the nuts on the bottom. The glory of MIG. Just fill it in. Those all done. Start cutting that up. Start framing out our table. Alright, so I have all the frame pieces cut. I thought this was a 20-foot piece. Ended up being only 16. Fortunately, I have some leftover 2x2, so I'm just going to use that little leftover 2x3 in the middle, and I'll use these 2x2s at the end here. So I'm going to start squaring everything up and then go ahead and weld in the center. And probably watching that thinking, what in the heck am I doing? But I got a good deal on 1/4" steel, so I'm going to make a 1/2" plate. So I went ahead, and you saw in that last video I used plasma cutter and just went ahead and did it 12 inches apart, both horizontal and perpendicular. And I'm just going to plug weld those, do a couple welds around the outside. This will be the back side of my table. It's going to go against the wall there. I'm going to leave a little bit so I can weld to it, and then I'll just weld a few spots, stitch weld the front. So I got the weight in the center, got that done first, and then went around and clamped everything. It looks really good. The 2x2 underneath I needed for the legs over there. I ran out of steel. And I also really wanted something straight across flat for welding these two pieces together. So I'm going to go ahead and start welding, and then we'll cut the legs for the table. Got the table all tacked up. I went ahead and started welding the holes right away, and then I decided, just heat wise, I didn't want to dump a bunch of heat in small places and have this thing a wave board. So I went ahead, and the rest of them just kind of did small little tacks, about 1/4 of the hole all the way around, dispersed it from left to right as well, and then all the way around I've done just these little tacks here. These will probably stay here. There's not much that's going to separate that. The back side I've got welded up pretty good. Did about 2-inch welds all the way across, and I'm going to end up cutting this right up to the weld there. I did go underneath the table after tacking all this up, and I took a straight edge and made sure none of the spots where my holes were already warped. So it's pretty cool in here, maybe 40 degrees, 45 degrees. So this table is cooling pretty quick, which is good, but I don't want too much temperature change. So I'm going to go ahead and jump around and finish up the welding, and that'll be it for the tabletop. As you can see, I'm trying to push down on the ends. There's a small gap still in the center. Obviously for me, heating and everything, it has pulled it, kind of warped it a little bit. Also the effect of trying to put two pieces of metal together to make a 1/2 inch. Just dealing with what we got. If it's not perfect, I'm okay with that, but we want it as close as possible. So still have a little bit of gap here. And even with pushing on that, I can't get it down. So what I have here is some pushers. What I'm going to do, let's see here, is use these to have to add this piece here and push I'll weld these here, and basically that's just going to pull that steel down here. I'll tack it onto this plate, tighten that bolt down, and it'll pull all this down. The other side looks pretty dang close. I might have to do it, but I'm at least going to do it one on each side here, get this pulled down, and then I'll go ahead and start welding forward. As you can see, things went south. After straightening what I thought left and right on the table, I got the steel on here and it had a heavy warp. It was dipped real low. What would happen when I welded the center, just like it did pulled side to side, because I welded the center first, it ended up pulling both sides. Just a rookie mistake, learning from this video. It's a DIY, and now we know why. So what I ended up doing is exactly what you can see. I welded underneath this cross beam, and I tried pushing it down on both ends. It just did not work. So I ended up cutting the welds underneath, put the jack stands up, and then I pushed from the center with the 4x4, and I was able to push past the broken welds and get this up a little bit, and then I just went across and welded everything. I didn't do a ton of welding. You can see I just did a few stitch welds, a little bit everywhere around. This thing's not going anywhere. I did weld these pretty good, so there was no rattle or anything there. So this thing now is dead flat. Really happy with how it turned out. A bit worried there, but turned out really good. The adjustable wheels have come in handy already. As you can see, the cracks and stuff in the floor. The floor is not straight by any means, so that has been extremely handy. I did find that I have some sheet metal out there, so I'm thinking I'm going to wrap this thing, put 2 doors on it just out here on the front of it, and then build a little shelf on it. Probably use some expanded metal so all the grinding and stuff like that will fall through. See, I started putting some mesh down. The other day I went to the scrapyard, was able to find this stuff. It was framed in, it looked like it was some kind of shelf or something. It was about 4 foot by 28 inches, and my span across here is about 25 and a half. So it really worked out perfect. Had angle iron all the way around, which is, I just cut this for the braces. I just cut the angle iron all the way around and almost fit in there just right. So I'm gonna put 3 braces in for now, every 2 feet here, and then 1 in the middle, and kind of see how it does. Got the grate fully welded. Way more solid now that it's welded all the way around. Bracing evenly apart. Looks way better. Functions a lot better as well. I had some real thin sheet metal laying around, and so I went ahead and welded on the back this spare piece. I'm going to make some doors for it, but I don't have anything for framing right now, so eventually I'll pick some up and then we'll frame out the doors and stuff. But the next thing I'm going to do, something else that I picked up, I found this just 2-inch square tubing, but it had the hitch mount already in. You can see somebody had this piece in there for a vise, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to mount it in this upper corner, this piece. I'm actually going to cut this one off here, and we're going to mount it straight up underneath, and I will cut a hole so we can drop the vise down in this way. Couldn't really decide, so I'm just going to go ahead and do both of them. I got enough steel to do it, so that's what we're going to do. Cut this to length. I'm going to have it stick out a few inches so we can clear the hole here, and then we'll cut that one apart, weld it up, see what we got. Alright, really happy with how these turned out. Obviously we'll have a plate here, that way I can set the vise on here. And then I'll bolt the vise on. That way I can put anything else I want on it here. I'll probably do a upright and then a plate. I might just do a plate, you know, if I extend it out further. But I'd like to get at least bench height or something like that. Both of these real clean, happy with it. I try to make them as long as possible. That way they become sturdier. The shorter it is, more play it will be in there. So it's been a few weeks since I finished the table. I actually wanted to get to use it. That way I can give you some input when I finish up this video. Some things that I really do like. The mesh underneath, that's been great. Doesn't collect any of the sawdust or metal shavings or anything like that. The wheels have definitely come in handy. Like I said, this floor is not straight, so that's been really nice. Really handy with the threaded there. The hitch holders has been good and bad. This front one I've used just miscellaneous, real handy. I do like the vise. It's easy to spin around stuff then. The thickness has been really good. Been beating on this stuff and no problem at all. One thing about the hitch setup is it does have a lot of slop. So that's where maybe drilling a couple holes in the corner here and mounting a vise when needed, but I use my big work truck for that most of the time anyway. So overall, really happy with the table. I actually really like the height as well. I'm 6'2". It's really easy to work with. I have height right here. I don't have to lean over or anything like that. So that's another plus. Definitely glad I went with, I think it ended up being about 42 inches height. So it fits like a glove. You can see side to side. Really happy with it. So thanks guys for watching.